We live. Welcome back, all you beautiful people, to the We Got Action podcast, episode 30 coming at y'all. Today we're gonna be talking about some NFL. And before we start and get into anything, just want to say big prayers up for Damar Hamlin. For those of you who are living under a rock and don't know, just kind of suffered, I believe it was cardiac arrest during the first quarter of the Bills-Bengals game yesterday. Very scary stuff. So he is still in critical condition right now, but just want to start off by saying big prayers for him, and hopefully everything works out, because that was something we've never seen before, at least with like American football. So I just want to start off the first part. What do you guys think that the NFL is going to do regarding the game? They definitely made the right decision in canceling that game. There was no question about that. You could see the faces of not only the Bills players, but Bengals players as well. It was pure shell shock. So what do you guys think they do regarding the game?
It's so complicated.
Very. Especially because it's not like
It's not some
Bills versus Texans.
Yeah.
You know,
Like they would happily just be like, all right, you know what? I'm sure the Texans would love to take a loss and the Bills would love to take that win.
Yeah. But it's like first seed on the line.
It's first and third seed battling. If the most commonly talked about outcome, I guess, is calling it either a no contest, so there's no game, and both the Bengals and the Bills will have 16 games played.
Yeah.
And then or give them both a tie. I've even seen people saying give both teams a win, but if that happens, then the Ravens are automatically eliminated.
Yeah.
They're not. No, they're already guaranteed.
No,
automatically. The Steelers are automatically.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then so it's all just. I think if the Bengals get anything but a loss, the Ravens can no longer win the division as well.
Correct.
That's what it is.
If the Bengals lose, then next week's Ravens-Bengals game is for the division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It's really a pretty shit scenario. Like, there's nothing that they can do that is gonna be fair to everyone, and that unless they replay the game, and even then,
it's a tough time to. Tough to find a spot
at this point for it to be. It's not gonna be replayed this week. They've already said that.
Right.
So it could be after week 18, but you'll have the wild card round starting right away, Saturday, right? So if these teams are going to be playing on Sunday, and then let's assume that they would play this game on like Wednesday, which
it's a short
too soon.
Week.
It's already shorter than the Thursday night game.
At that point, you're putting more risk on that team, whoever does that.
Yeah, but then also, can you move wild card games to midweek? Probably not. I don't think the NFL wants to do that. So it's going to be really interesting. I honestly have no clue. I think ultimately the best result is probably call it a no contest or give them both a tie or something.
Yeah.
But that's going to end up regardless working in the Chiefs' favor.
I mean, if you look at it too, you could if they just say where the score was at, Bengals would win.
Yeah, but that's not fair.
But I had two options. One, I think you could do move it back a week was my thing. Just move the playoffs back a week and play it like where the wild card week would be, just play Bengals Bills that week. Or I would think after the week 18, just have that game be on a Thursday, maybe.
Well, but what happens then if
Wednesday?
Let's say the Bills win then.
Maybe you shuffle their week 18 games to two Thursday games, and then they play the following Wednesday.
I think at that point it's like we're kind of going back like. So I mean, you could honestly compare it to like COVID times of when they tried, but like if you look at it, it really wasn't successful of trying to reschedule because of everything that happened and everything else. So I think at this point, I think it's just one of the two options of either a tie and a no contest, and then at that point, if it is to where it makes a major difference for the seeding, then you're just going to have to still go based off of percentages at that point. I think no contest would be more logical. But then again, it's still at the end of the day, it's still gonna mess somebody over. Like in regards to seeding, if it like mostly the for the Bengals and Chiefs, though, those are pretty set, and even with the Bills. But
I would say a loss for the Bengals would be the worst thing.
If the Bills tie or no contest, it would put the Chiefs in a position to win and get the first seed, regardless of what the Bills do next week.
Yeah.
So and then are they gonna? I don't. And there's talks about them not even about them forfeiting against the Patriots this week, which is another topic, because like if Damar's still in the hospital and he's not conscious yet or anything, I'm sure these guys aren't going to want to play. And then if they forfeit and the Patriots get an automatic win, then again, Steelers are out. Any battle for the
Dolphins
7th seed
it's all
in the
over.
AFC
Jets,
is
Titans.
done. So
what you think, I?
I'm gonna like this, like in between. I feel like I want to say no contest, just because it's just one. There's so much going on right now, and it's like towards the end of the season already. And I think VU was bringing up like right before we got on. It was like that 2-week break. I was thinking shorten that 2-week break or something just to push everything back. But then even then, I'm just thinking, I'm like, this is a tough time. Like, and I think a lot of people are talking about football more so, and I think I forgot his name right now. Swagoo on ESPN was talking about
Marcus
earlier, like, I
Spears,
don't want this to become. Yeah, I don't want him to feel like it's like a football problem when you could definitely tell, even like last night, like the players of the Bills, their hearts are with Demar right now. I just think it's just gonna be tough because even with them trying to forfeit the game this week, you could just tell it's still on their mind, it's still on their heart, and let alone to be in that game while it's happening. We weren't there; none of us were there, so it's easy for us to say that stuff when they were like on the field with this kid, like right up and close with them. You see this guy every day, and it's really hard to say that for somebody, especially when you don't know what's going on.
And that's the thing too. Like obviously, like for like all the other teams and stuff like that, they're still going to be playing with heavy hearts and heavy minds, not going into every game because that could happen. Like, you know, obviously you don't know when that's going to happen, but it's just the natural thing with a lot of people on the outside looking in now on the playoff implications. It's not saying it's anything bad. Obviously, we know there's like a human side to it, but at the same time, it's like that's going to cause like now we're just looking at the game in totality along with the playoffs and what's happening. That's really what it comes down to now. It's like, what do the Bills do this coming week? Do they forfeit? If they forfeit against the Patriots, they get a dub, and then what? Now the Patriots have a chance at the playoffs, but then it's gonna just be now at that point, people are gonna turn it around, and it's just gonna turn into this whole fiasco of like, well, they shouldn't have been in the playoffs, they shouldn't have got a win, things like that. So it's just gonna create not in a bad way, but more so focusing on the sport. It's just gonna create a snowball effect in that way. You know, this coming weekend or even after this weekend, depending on what happens.
I also think it should just be in Buffalo hands too, though. Like whatever they want to do with this, if they want to be a no contest or anything, because like we saying, they the ones fighting for the 1 seed right now. Is it really that important to them? Like because right now, I feel like what's more important is their teammate, they fallen brother right now.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
and
stole the words out of my mouth.
You already have the experience of going in the Arrowhead. You already have that. You already got the experience of playing at Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
The only thing you just don't have, which we were getting into, was the experience against a Joe Burrow or something. If anybody want to bring that up, like that was their first meeting. But even then, you still have a chance with a really good football team to do some damage. But you going out there like this, anything could happen at that point. I feel like.
Yeah. That was literally I was about to make the point. I think that they would trade the fucking chance at a Super Bowl just to make sure that this kid doesn't, pass away on us. So. That's it's a tough spot. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be. I think the biggest thing is making sure he's okay before any decision is really made. So just all of our prayers are with him, and hopefully everything works out. We're going to talk about playoff implications for the last few spots coming up now. So we're going to go into basically the 4 seeds on the line between Jacksonville and Tennessee. And then the 2 7 seeds are on the line. We can go to the NFC. I feel like is a little more simple because it's the Seahawks win, Lions win, then they're in. Packers can just win outright.
Yeah, so
which is the easiest
win
thing.
And get in.
It's win and get in. Correct.
Seahawks, it's Packers Packers lose and Seahawks win.
Yes, and Lions need Seahawks to lose with a dub. So who you guys got? I got my pick.
Well, are we talking? So we're gonna go. You guys want to go game by game?
I'm just curious who you think grabs the 7.
I honestly think it's gonna be Green Bay.
It stinks. Yeah,
my God.
It stinks of Green Bay.
I honestly think because it's just too perfect. It's just too perfect of a storyline for them to mess this up now. Like you've won your games, you've come back, and now you have the opportunity to clinch a playoff spot at your home stadium against the Lions, a team that you've had a lot of success against in the past, no matter what.
So dumb.
So I think it's going to be Green Bay. I think Aaron Rodgers, like last week, he didn't have a day, but obviously the whole team in totality had a great day. Especially the defense is picking it back up. but I think Green Bay is definitely going to
Yeah,
seal
that
that
was-
that spot. So
Yeah, Danny, you going where I'm going. When you brought up that defense, and I think one thing that's kind of funny because last episode we was talking about Jair Alexander being like a man-to-man cover, and they
and
go ahead
lock
and
them
shift that
down.
and put that right on the Justin Jefferson. I was like, Jesus, I ain't seen Jettas be that frustrated in a long.
But again, to go to the point of the whole defense, like they still didn't put Jair shadowing.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't only
outside.
Jair
Yeah.
covering Jettas, which
Yeah.
was what was so
So
impressive too.
I actually saw something, and the biggest change the Packers have made is they went from, I believe, I want to say 6th in blitz rate before their bye to last.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
just dropping
dropping
into
more guys
coverage.
into coverage, and then in keeping more guys in coverage, the pass rush has more
Which is
time
safe.
to
Watching
work.
that game, it was just dropping back and then allowing more underneath throws, and
Mhm.
just when they saw the linebackers, the safeties, the corners were just swarming any
Exactly.
underneath
Yeah.
throw. Sometimes they wouldn't even make the completion because they were just like stop the deep ball and then swarm anything underneath. And
Yeah.
it
But if
was-
I'm not mistaken,
it was
too,
crazy.
Vito, you can correct me. I mean, that's a lot of what, based off of obviously the defensive line, is what the 49ers do. Being able to drop a lot of people back, letting the D line really play. Obviously,
Yeah.
throwing
it's
a
a little
bit of
different with the
blitzes.
personnel.
Well,
D'Amico-
no, yeah,
D'Amico
but I'm
likes
just
to
saying in
throw-
general.
Yeah, D'Amico likes to throw in a lot of those disguise blitzes where he'll bring like a linebacker and a safety up to
Yeah.
the line, and then you'll have
Yeah.
like you don't even know who's
You'll have
coming
to
in,
guess.
and then it'll be like
Yeah.
sometimes you'll see Fred, he lines up like he's gonna blitz,
Backs
Yeah.
off.
drops back, and then blitzes delayed, things like
Yeah.
that. He likes those. The Packers are running a very like simple defense right now, and I think it's actually working out for them. And
Yeah.
it's
Wait, when
it
you
goes
don't
hand in hand.
ask too much from your
Yeah.
players and you just say just cover, it's a lot
Yeah,
easier.
You talk
and
about putting, having a good pass rush makes it easier to cover because you don't have to cover as long, but it
Yeah.
works vice versa. If the better your coverage is, the more time the pass rush has to get to the quarterback, and
Yep.
whether it's a sack or
Yeah.
just
We
forcing a
saw
bad
that.
throw.
We saw that against Kirk. He had a forced fumble. He got sacked a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the thing is, too, I just won't be. I don't know. I just have this good feeling for Detroit because they dominated the Bears this past week. I think that is something that they needed and they needed to
Don't
show.
say nothing though.
I know it
Yeah, they don't say
doesn't, but it's
shit.
like at the same time, the fact that you just literally put your foot down on the Bears' throat, you handed the game and you kept your foot on the gas pedal, I think was
Mhm.
important for them. Will it work in Green Bay? It depends on how they start out. If they start out slow, I think it's Green Bay's, but I think if they could start out fast, like they did, and obviously, hold the Packers offense to something minimal, might be surprised.
the only
The
thing
only
I
problem
thought
I have
was-
with that is the
The
fact
ri-
that Seattle can win and it doesn't matter.
yeah, we were talking about this. So they flexed
Yeah.
the Lions Packers game to Sunday night, because of the
which is
implications.
now after the Seattle game.
But yeah, and so if
Whereas
Seattle
before it was
wins,
Before it was
if-
at noon.
if Seattle wins, the Lions are just eliminated, and then they're playing for nothing on
Right.
Sunday night. And I'm sure they're prideful. There's a lot of prideful guys on there. Dan Campbell's not going to be like, "Oh, we're out of the playoffs. We're okay with losing." Like that's not what they're going to do. But it does affect the players, the coaching.
Mhm.
Everyone's going to feel that, and it might lead to an impact in performance, and just without that extra drive of making the playoffs, it might kill that game.
Yeah, I feel like the flexing
Yeah.
was more or less to have Aaron
Yeah,
be on prime time
Yes.
in a game where he can win and get to the playoffs.
Yeah,
But yeah, I definitely
writing's on
it
the
was
wall.
not a good thing for the Lions.
These games should have been played at the exact same time. The Seattle game and the Lions
I
game.
was all right with the 12
I mean, them playing before works too.
because if
Yeah.
the Packers win outright, it didn't
I
matter whether
still-
it was before or after.
Yeah,
But it meant more for the Lions because they were dependent on the game after them, and them not knowing means that they go all out against the Packers.
Mhm.
Whereas
I
now
still
it's
think-
just
Either way it went, Detroit wasn't gonna make it. Why? Where's this game at, fellas?
Lambo.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
like I was saying last week, I was talking to some people. They was like, bet against Tom Brady. You don't bet against Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in these type of
Yeah.
situations coming up.
Same thing
And that's
happened
how I
with
feel
Carolina
about
this past week. They had a chance to
I mean,
put the
unless it's the
division on the line.
49ers and Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
maybe. But you don't bet against these guys in a situation, let alone with a team that should have won the game against Carolina the first time, right
Yeah,
before they got
yeah,
to the
yeah.
Bears. And once again, I still don't think them dominating the Bears is anything when
Mm-mm.
everything for the Bears right now is pretty much
If it's
bad. at this
if your
point.
name's not Justin Fields, the team is trash.
Yeah,
Everything
That's
else
exactly
is
what it
in
is.
dysfunction.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, at least
So
we're
we all
still
going
on.
pack then?
Yeah, I think we're
I'm
all-
going. I'm
I
going
just
with the
feel
pack,
like
unfortunately.
it reeks. Like I feel like it's gonna be. I
It's
mean,
just set
we'll
up
get
at
into
that
it.
point.
It is
We'll
set
get-
up because they put it after the Seahawks game. I feel like
Yeah.
the Seahawks. It's like they're like it feels like they've been already written. This
Okay,
game
so
the
for-
that's what
Seahawks
I'm
to
saying. It
lose.
feels like one of those games that like, oh, Detroit scores a long touchdown. Wait, there's a flag on the field. Oh, holding offense. Oh, okay.
So for my
Doing your scripts.
yes,
for
I'm-
my
I'm- I
clarification,
got
then
PTSD.
for my clarification, then so if Seattle wins, Detroit is automatically out,
Yes.
and then Green Bay would just need to win to get in, correct? So then
The
there's
result-
no
other
way. There's
results
no.
don't
There's
matter to
no.
Green Bay.
So there's no way Seattle sneak in then.
Only if Seattle
If Seattle
wins,
wins and
but
the
then they would need
Lions
the Lions to win.
or tie.
Okay.
But the
okay,
weird
so
thing
it's a-
is Seattle plays before. So
Yeah.
if Seattle wins, it
Actually,
already
no.
eliminates Detroit. So then Detroit has nothing to play for if Seattle wins, which means it's
Play for.
a booster for Green Bay.
oh,
So it's
okay.
kind of weird. That's why Vitor was saying it's weird the way
Yeah,
they flexed
okay.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
Because now it's like Detroit might
Yeah.
play for it or they
Typically,
might not.
these types of games, you put them on at the same time so that you don't
You
know
have
what's
no
going
idea.
on, or you have to get live updates while you're playing the game.
Yeah.
And you can't be like, you can't go into the game like, oh, well, we're already out, so this is pointless, and I'm here not to get hurt.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's-
So
yeah,
we're
that's
gonna
tough,
jump.
bro.
Want to jump to the AFC because it's a little more choppy.
Mhm.
The 4 seed again is on the line. So the AFC South basically division title is on the line, which is also the 4 seed hosting a playoff game. Jacksonville versus Tennessee. The only thing is Jacksonville plays the Texans. So
No, that was this week.
No.
These are the week.
Oh,
17
you're right.
matchups.
You're right.
Jacksonville
They do
plays
play each other.
They play each other.
Yeah.
They do
Yes.
play each other. I was
Yeah.
about to say I thought that was strange.
It's gonna be.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's gonna be a good one, I think. What
don't
what you
think
got?
so.
Who you
Is it?
got? You got Jacksonville?
I don't
or
think it's a good one.
Or I'm sorry,
I got-
Jacksonville
I-
or
I'm finna-
Tennessee.
I'm in Duval country right now. Jaguars. What are you talking about, Danny? Did
I'm
you see
just
Trevor
asking.
Lawrence numbers last time in
It doesn't.
Tennessee?
It has nothing to do with Trevor Lawrence, bro. The Titans
How's it?
are starting Josh Dobbs. Like
That's another thing.
they're gonna need the best game from their defense and the best game from Derrick Henry coming off an injury
They
to
better
be able
call
to even
Kevin.
stay in the game.
Call Kevin right now. Hey, Kevin, I need what you to do. Kevin Byers got to do what he did last week.
It's gonna be tough, man. I think I want to say
Weren't
I
the
want to.
Titans 7-2, 7-3,
Yes.
Yes, they were 7
and
and
like the
Yeah.
1 or 2 seed.
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
Dude, what the
Yeah.
hell?
but I
Tannehill
think
started.
yeah,
Tannehill got beat up.
yeah.
Which I mean,
Malik Willis got beat up.
well, Malik Willis wasn't good to begin with, but
Yeah.
Tannehill could at least keep a drive going. He could
I-
hand it off to Henry better than the other guys could.
I honestly think though, now it's weird because again, New England plays Buffalo. Now that we're looking at it, and it's like it all depends on what happens in that game because
yeah,
if
that game
Buffalo
happens.
if well, that's what I'm saying. If Buffalo forfeits that game and they automatically give New England the win, then they're in.
Well, what do you, let's just say
Mhm.
that doesn't happen, and Buffalo's playing.
I think
Well, then-
Pittsburgh then gets in.
Really?
I think Pittsburgh gets
I
in.
still thought Pittsburgh's getting in.
That's what
So,
I'm saying. I think
Miami
Pitt gets
needs
in.
Pittsburgh to lose, right?
I have no
Or if
idea.
no, I believe if Miami wins, they're in, right?
Miami.
no.
if-
no,
The
Miami-
Steelers they held something over one of these two teams.
Let me pull it. See if I can pull it up.
And I can't remember what it was. By the way, I'm also going Jacksonville. I don't know why you thought that. I'm with Isaac on that.
Yeah.
Jacksonville all the way.
As much as
All
I
right,
think
so-
Henry's gonna run for something crazy, I don't think it'll be enough.
Maybe they're not the Texans, bro.
Okay,
So-
so yeah, the Dolphins win a tiebreak over Pittsburgh based on head-to-head win percentage.
Yeah, 1-0 for them. Yeah.
But-
So if the Dolphins win, they
So they would need the Patriots to lose because New England is ahead of
Yes.
Miami in the AFC East based on division record.
yes.
So basically, Miami needs to win this game in order to make the playoffs,
Correct.
yes, well, yeah,
and Pittsburgh needs Miami to lose and New England to lose as well in order to sneak into the 7th
yeah.
seed.
If New England loses, Miami gets in on, and wins, they get it on conference record. and
Yeah.
pure record. It's kind of confusing over here. There's a lot of
Yeah.
tie breaking going on in this.
This
But
was
no,
a lot more
and
complicated.
to simplify it, it
Miami
is
can win.
if
If
Miami and
wins-
if Miami and New England lose with the Steelers winning, then they steal 7.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if Patriots win, Dolphins lose, Patriots are in.
Honestly, you know what? I'm with
But if the
Isaac on
Patriots-
this.
I
I
think
want
Patriots-
Pittsburgh to win.
Patriots
I'm
win,
on that
they're
train
in.
right now. I want Pittsburgh in at this point. I just want
Right, and
might as
What's
Miami
not to
well.
like about it?
Pittsburgh or New
That's what
England
I'm
will
saying.
Yeah,
lose
what's
Yeah,
not
with
to
a
like
win.
about it? You got a Kenny Pickett playing really well.
Dude,
Mike
you
Tomlin
see
does not
that
finish
game
below
winner to
500.
Najee? That
Nasty.
game winner to Najee was Mahomes-esque.
The thing is, though, that's funny. I saw a tweet the other day as well. It was, imagine if you can get the last 3 minutes of Kenny Pickett every game, but for the whole 60 minutes. It's like
MVP.
it literally. But yeah, that one's gonna be a lot more complicated. Feel good story to me would be Pittsburgh, honestly, like coming back literally from the dead and what they've had to go through, especially with all that transition and injuries and stuff like that. I think that would just be a pretty damn good story, at least to make the last spot
I
in the
think
playoffs.
between the 3 teams, I want Miami to get in more, but I'm less confident because again, Tua they already said
Exactly.
is not playing,
Yeah,
which he hasn't
I
played
think
last week.
I think Tua's done. I think
I was fine with Teddy
Do you
Two
think
Gloves.
he's done? Like
I
career
think
Yeah.
no. I just think he's done for the
No,
season.
I think he's
Oh,
done
yeah.
for the rest of
No,
the
they're
year.
shutting
This
him
year,
down.
Yeah.
I've been saying that he
Yeah.
can't get concussed. People are also talking about him. Like if you watch the clips of him getting sacked,
Yeah.
he falls and whips his head back a lot. Like someone's got to teach him how to not because
Well, the thing is too, he's getting
Hey,
manhandled.
yeah, but I
I'm
mean
about
it
to
happens.
say,
You see guys like Brady who they crumble, right?
Brady
They
just
learn
literally
how they know.
stops.
Yeah, they know how
Yeah.
to fall.
I get
He,
what you mean.
Short
Yeah.
circuits once he gets
Brady
sacked.
hugs them back.
He just falls.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
someone's got to teach Tua because his career, if he keeps getting smacked, like every time he gets hit, if he's falling, turning over and smacking the back of his head on the ground, he's not going to make it very long. And that's beyond just
Yeah, but
football.
that's just modern day football. That's like what modern day
That's
quarterbacks
what I'm saying. I
are.
don't feel like he has a lot of time to be trying to figure out how to land.
Yeah.
I mean,
Getting
they
slung to
clearly
the ground.
They clearly teach quarterbacks how to not get hurt when
Yes,
getting
but I'm
sacked
saying
and,
the
like, on a
modern
standard sack.
day, I feel like is to not just crumble once you get touched. It's to
Yeah.
fight for more yards. I mean,
That's exactly what I was
Trey,
going.
that was
It's
what happened with Trey.
Yeah.
He was fighting for more yards. He got
It
crumpled
was
up on.
also it was a quarterback.
Yeah, Russ got the same thing.
Quarterback
like
dive
2
up
weeks
the
ago.
gut.
yeah, Russ got
Russ had
messed
the
up
same
too.
thing, too.
It's that thing too of where I think more so it's I mean obviously it's awareness and stuff like that, but at the
Mhm.
same time it's like they're more like obviously they're not focused on getting sacked. You know what I mean? It's like with the older quarterbacks, like we've seen like with Brady was a great example. Like, you know, you go through
Aaron
your
does it
reads.
too.
Yeah, Aaron, you got like they go through the
Big
reads, and
Ben
if they
did it.
know that something isn't there, then it's like okay, if they expect to hit, then it's like already like kind of go down. You know what I mean? They don't try to, and you kind of notice it. They don't try to leave it in the ref's hands unless if they know if it's like obvious. But like if they're like blindsided in a way, then they'll obviously try and like, you know, do what they can. But like that's a great point though that I never really thought of. But looking at it now, it's just, you know, one focus on like the receiver, and then another one's like went through the reads. Okay, I can't do nothing else. Let me just, you know, take what's gonna happen at that point.
Yeah.
So who we all got then? Final answer. 7 seed.
7 seed. I'm
So
going
again,
Pittsburgh.
Steelers.
Pittsburgh.
They need the other 2 to
Assuming-
lose.
Yeah.
Assuming the Bills game happens, I'm picking Pittsburgh. But I'm
If
under the
the game
impression
does-
that the Patriots will take it on a technicality.
Yes.
That is what I believe will happen. But assuming the Bills game goes on, then I think the Steelers sneak in there.
I need a play-in game then between New England and Miami if that happens.
Yo, for real.
Because that's the thing. That's the thing. You might again. This is gonna this weekend now because people are gonna. Unfortunately, it's gonna be the focus on football. It's gonna be focused on the playoff. That's just what's gonna happen. It's just the natural. It's just gonna be the natural reaction of what's gonna happen
So
and the
you got them.
aftermath of everything. I got
Who's
Pittsburgh.
dancing? You got
I got
Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh. I got Pittsburgh.
You got Pittsburgh too, Isaac?
Yes. Kenny Pickett,
Everybody?
Mike Tomlin. I'm with it.
That's
It's just 'cause the
another
other two
that's
teams-
another stinky situation. So it's similar to the Packers. Like, oh, Mike Tomlin chance to continue his streak of never going under 500.
Hey, we called it what?
You son of a bitch.
Sounds
We
like
called
a
it
couple of
what?
yellow flags flying around anytime
You
something goes
son of a
against the
bitch.
Steelers.
Is it a yellow flag or a terrible towel?
we called it what, like four weeks ago or something. When we were talking about it, we called it like
Yeah,
4
it was
weeks
like
ago that like
3
Tomlin.
That's what I'm saying.
That Tomlin
Never
wasn't gonna
finished.
finish under 500. Ain't no way.
I'm telling you, like sometimes these things stink a little bit too much.
That's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, it
All right,
stinks.
so-
It stinks of scripted. I'll take. Oh fuck. I'll stick with Miami. Fuck it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you got
Miami.
Miami.
Miami's the one team I'm like, they're out.
I'm sticking with Miami.
All right.
And then
All
we're
right,
all
that's
still,
taking-
fair.
we're all
I was
taking the
still fine
Jags,
with
right?
Teddy Two Gloves.
Big Mike
They
White
were
got
winning.
him,
They were
That too.
dominating the game with Teddy Two Gloves, but then he.
Big Mike White gonna take down Miami. I'm sorry.
Big Mike
It's
White.
also not.
Remember how to play offense from before when he got hurt because they looked rough last week.
Yeah, they were bad, bro.
Yeah.
But so that finishes off at least the NFL for us. So kind of a little bit short. Obviously it wasn't, too much news or anything like that. Obviously, besides, what happened on the Monday night football game between Buffalo and Cincinnati. We'll talk a lot more about the playoff.
Oh, wait,
what?
I saw something. You seen T. Higgins getting hate comments for what happened?
No, I didn't.
He's been getting hate comments on his Instagram posts over it's
Oh.
your fault and this and that. If you're one of those dumbasses commenting on his shit, bro,
That's not it.
I'm not gonna say
Can't
what I'm
control,
gonna say.
that ain't
because
cool.
no.
This
Can't control that.
this ain't a rated R podcast,
Tackle.
but y'all gotta fix your shit. That's not okay.
Y'all gotta be better.
That
be
man,
better.
I know that man is fucking going through it worse than anybody else right now.
And
Like,
at the same time, it's not anything that he could have controlled.
Yeah,
He was
it's a
playing.
freak
He was doing what he was
We
doing.
also
normally.
still don't even know if that's what caused it.
yeah, I mean,
Correct.
the assumption is that it's like a freak occurrence thing that it's like if you get hit in the chest hard enough during like a certain part of
Bro,
the
he
heartbeat,
literally
it can put
knocked,
you
he
into
literally
cardiac
knocked
arrest.
out a Patriots player last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and
like
it was fine.
It's just
shit
something.
happens.
The Erickson thing, dude
Yeah.
was just dribbling a ball.
Shit happens.
It's just
like it could have been
could it?
T-
It could have, but it
could-
also could have just been.
could he have been chasing a freaking loose ball, ran into the goalpost, and had
It
the
could have
same
been the
thing
same
happen?
thing.
Yes.
Well,
So-
not even running into the goalpost, just
Could have just been running.
literally
Yeah.
running in coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Likelihood is the hit did cause like it was one of is that weird freak occurrence of the hit causing like a
Mhm.
change in the
Yeah.
heartbeat and causing it to go into arrest. But like, come on, that's not okay. That like
Yeah.
he's a person.
That
like,
ain't
come
cool.
on.
Yeah.
That ain't cool. y'all.
Everybody just got to be, obviously got to put everything into perspective with all of that. But again,
There you
we'll
go,
talk
thinking
about
people have
more.
common sense again.
Yeah, we'll all talk about the playoffs though. Obviously next week and after this weekend does conclude with all the games, and again we'll see what happens with the Buffalo game. Obviously, like it or not, there's an implication from it. It's just it is what it is at that point when you're looking at the overall and grand scheme of the playoff implication and the picture and things like that. So next thing that we are going to get into, again we had a short NFL segment. We are going to get into the college football playoff. So we called it a little bit last week. We all said, I think
Two
you
for
said
two, baby.
you
2 for
you
2.
said TCU.
Isaac
TCU
was 2
said-
for 2.
Yeah.
Oh no, Isaac picked Ohio State.
Yeah.
He did go
Yes,
Ohio
I
State.
picked my
I was 2 for 2.
Buckeyes.
Yeah.
That was-
So
I
um,
should have been 2 for 2.
I almost
Yes.
picked the whole thing except for fucking the Utes.
the Utes.
yeah,
And
the,
then fucking the trash ass
Mr.
Trojans.
Ruggles.
yeah.
Mr. Ruggles.
See,
feel
and
like
I told you though. I told you last week. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Tulane wins, but it happened. But the one thing that we wanted to focus on, as far as we're gonna kind of go a little bit, team by team, and then we got, kind of like a versus for you guys at the end of the college football segment to close out the episode. But one of the first things, I'll start with you first. So obviously Michigan goes down to TCU. They've had 6 postseason losses though in a row, under John Harbaugh. So everybody's kind of been Jim Harbaugh. I'm sorry. Jim Harbaugh. So everybody's kind of been calling him out for that. That he should, maybe look to jump back into the NFL. It's the right situation. So do you believe that Harbaugh should head back to the NFL? Still grind it out at Michigan with, obviously beating Ohio State now 2 years in a row and things like that. What you think that they should do, or at least he should do?
I think he should go back to the NFL. I'll be real with that. Because I'm getting tired of him beating on my Buckeyes the last 2 years.
There it is. There it is.
But no, on a serious note, though, a coach that was really successful in San Francisco prior to going to Michigan, and I feel like in an era right now where head coaches are, in my opinion, really needed to like make an offense go. But he's already been talking to the Panthers about that one job, about a job already, about
Mhm.
just
That's confirmed.
interest.
Yep.
And
That's
I don't
recent.
think
Yeah.
I don't think Yeah, I don't think that's his best fit, but it's something. But also too, I just don't think so. Like in my opinion, like a Deion Sanders type of impact, it's like having a top recruiting class, constantly winning a little bit. But in Jim Harbaugh's case, he still hadn't brought in the top. We'll get into a little bit later, but his recruiting classes ain't been better than Ohio State. Even though his last 2 years he's got some big dubs against Ohio State.
Yeah.
I just think he's at this standstill now, and it's the postseason aspect. He can't get over that hump, and it's going to be really hard when you playing the Alabamas, the Tennessees, and we talked about it all season. The Big Ten schedule ain't crack. I'll be honest with you. And I think it'd be a little bit better with USC and UCLA coming, but I don't think. Yeah, I think he's on his way back.
What you guys see?
I think he should stay. I don't think he is because I mean, I think he should stay for a couple reasons. I mean, I think he's finally seeing the benefits of basically he's gone through his first 3-4 years were not successful, 4 or 5 maybe.
Yeah.
Couldn't beat Ohio State, could barely beat teams like Iowa, Wisconsin was beating up on him early. I mean, struggled to win against Penn State. But now they're running through the Big Ten the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think he's finally he's reaping his benefits finally. And I think this is not the time where I think you jump ship. Maybe. I mean, again, this is the time where you're at, you are sought after most by those NFL teams because you're getting the success. But I think teams are starting to see that a change is coming. I think you'll start to see, or not teams, I mean players are starting to see, and I think high school recruits are going to start going there a little bit more. But
if he, are you saying that if he stays?
Yeah, I think he should stay. I think he should stay. I mean, build something. Again, I think you can make more money in college than you can in football sometimes. I think you have more longevity.
I think
longer
the
leash.
NFL, I was gonna say the NFL is really volatile.
Again, if it seems when you finally, it feels like he's been taking steps. They were not great right away. Then they ended up finally making different games, then they were finally competing with Ohio State. Now they're beating Ohio State. Now they're winning Big Tens. Now they're making the college footballs. It's like now you're getting to the point where, I feel like this is where your next step is get better recruits and then finally actually make the fucking finals. But it does seem like he's on his way out, unfortunately. But I think you should stay.
My question for you, C, is this: do you feel like if he stays, so let's put it hypothetical. So say if he stays, right? With the college football playoff expanding, and the only reason I'm asking is now with like losses like against the TCU, getting bashed by like a Georgia or Bama like the year before, do you think they have a chance to reach the final like ever with the expansion in the next 5 or 10 years or so?
Yes, they have a better chance. I think they have a better chance.
It's a way easier.
I think it's the reason they're
pathway.
expanding. Now, not saying they won't come up against Bama or Georgia in a semifinal, but they also have a better chance of Bama or Georgia getting upset in the first round. And now instead of facing Bama, Georgia, Ohio State in the semis, you're facing TCU, USC. You're facing and
Clemson
in a quote unquote easier opponent than a top dog in the SEC.
Because
I definitely think again, and that's actually another point for my case of why you should maybe stay. Because you don't know how it's gonna look, and you're a top 4 team in college football the last 2 years. So you're a top 3 team actually.
Yeah. Okay. What you
last
got,
year was tough, but
I think you should stay. I don't. For me, like what he said, like they've been building. They've been building up. And it's like if this is like the 4th, 5th year in a row, okay, we get to the college football playoff and we lose. Okay, something has to change.
Then
it's been 2 years of them actually making serious runs, and
I would even consider from last year to this year a little bit of a jump because you played the best team in college football last year, but that team had how many first round picks? The team had how many current NFL starters?
That's the thing. They didn't get stomped like they had. I mean, granted, they started
got
out
throttled
terrible
last year,
but the fact that they were able to jump back,
right. And I think a lot of people slept on TCU all year, and I think 100%. TCU is no slouch. Max Duggan showing that he's potentially a future NFL quarterback. He is a dog, man.
Yeah,
but I think they took another step from last year to this year.
Yeah, I think he should give it probably 2 more years at least.
I would
Mhm.
see
That
what
would-
see what the final 8 does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like,
See what that looks
I
like.
don't see the point of leaving now, especially because like you look at the availability of jobs in the NFL. You got the
They're
Broncos,
available, but
the
they're not
Broncos
pretty.
dumpster fire. You got the Panthers situation.
Honestly though, for just that Carolina point, I don't think Carolina needs to touch him. I think they need to hire Steve Wilkes and call it a done deal already. That's what I personally
I could
think.
see I could see Harbaugh going. to
Yeah,
Denver.
Denver kind of makes sense too because he has experience against Russell Wilson and
Mhm.
with mobile quarterbacks. He was kind of the one that introduced the West Coast offense to San Francisco.
He's kind of defensive minded. I feel like
He
too.
is, yes. I mean, we
Yeah.
always we had a top defense throughout most of his tenure
Mhm.
as our head coach. And so I don't know. It would make sense for Denver. I feel
He
like that's
seems
the
to be
best
that kind of
fit.
coach that turns things
But-
around too.
Yeah, but
'Cause
again,
Michigan wasn't really competing; they were in their down phase before he
but
got
yeah,
there.
we talked about the patience that Michigan has had with him, and he's had to have at Michigan. Right, the first few years they weren't good, and now they're actually starting. You don't get that kind of leash very often in the NFL.
No.
Right? If he goes to Denver hypothetically, and they don't make a drastic improvement, he's done. Right?
The
They're
other
gonna
difference I feel like is I don't want to spend too long on Michigan because we're going to talk about them at the end. But I think one more point.
Yeah, I
I'll
got my
make is,
mouth hurting.
yeah, one more point I want to make is just I feel like in comparison to NFL to college football, when you arrive at a school, you need 2-3 years to
Mhm.
build up your team, to get your recruits to implement your
well, that's
your
the right
kind of
thing
chemistry.
for almost any coaching.
But in the NFL, you're
yeah.
coming in, you're inheriting a dynamite defense. You're inheriting
Depends-
2
yeah.
star receivers and a star running back. You're
If you're
inheriting
talking the Denver one,
yeah,
the Denver
a
job,
top
yeah.
quarterback. You're inheriting, a semi decent offensive line. Like there
Mhm.
should be, you should go from where they're at 4-12, 4-14, or whatever the fuck it
At least
is,
be more respectable.
and then
86,
to at least
yeah.
be competing for the playoffs. So that's why I
Yeah.
think you see the difference in leashes between
Yeah.
college and NFL. But
Yeah.
I would be surprised if he left. But I
Surprised
think
if he
yeah.
left.
Because the thing-
if I'm him, but I could definitely see him
Yeah.
leaving. Yes,
I can see him leaving. I don't think it's the right decision.
I don't think so.
I think you've got to,
bro, he's making
Push.
bank in college.
but it's not
Look
even
at
that.
him,
It's just
look at
make that push. Like
Dabo. Look at Jimbo. Them boys making more money than these NFL coaches are, man.
Exactly. That's
and
the
they're
thing
not getting
too.
fired every 6 months.
yeah.
Just because they win.
Yeah, and that's the thing
And
too.
so does Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh now.
Yeah,
Is it just
Jim.
Jim, right?
Jim is a
Jim,
Jim.
yeah.
So wait,
yes.
but-
okay, it's Jim. All right, it's Jim.
yeah.
Okay.
John's
So
Ravens.
John is
that's
the Ravens
why.
coach and possibly Brock Purdy's dad.
Honestly, I didn't even thought of it.
Yeah. But I'm in the same boat. I don't see why you leave with the like Isaac touched on and asked see about the expansion. Like if you think about it now, if the path lines up the right way, you could make it all the way to the
Mhm.
final. Again, that's another step. Granted, it'll be an extra year before that actually happens, the expansion part. But I just feel like he has so much of a longer leash because he's always going to consistently be one of the top, on a great year, 4 or 5 top 6 teams in the country, no matter what, especially the trajectory that he's on. Granted, it's a lot of pressure at Michigan because of the obviously it's a pristine institution and all that. But why would you leave for 2-3 years of mediocrity and then
you're
now all of a
probably
sudden
going to
you
be right back.
and then the thing is that you may not get the right job and that you have to
Yeah.
build yourself back up in the college ranks. Why would you risk that at that point?
You don't.
I
You
just-
don't.
I just don't see it.
I'd be surprised.
I'm
if
somebody
he
I
took him in.
typically like to push to like, oh, go pro. Like it's a lot of
It's
times
not for everybody.
it's not
though.
for everybody. I mean, we saw Urban come to the NFL and possibly be the
Saban
worst.
did it.
Second,
Yeah,
probably
Saban
the
was
second
terrible.
worst.
Everyone, all these guys have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
been bad
want you
at
to
least for
go,
those.
Jim.
Not saying. I mean,
Harbaugh's
Harbaugh's
Jim, I want you
he's
to
done it. He's
fly.
already proven himself. He
Well, yeah,
doesn't
I mean,
have much.
we went to a
Jim,
Super Bowl
I
with
need
them.
you to leave. Go to
Of
the
course.
NFL.
Of course,
I
you
ain't got
got
another. I don't
with
have
a
another.
lesser roster than last year too, which is insane.
Yeah.
I can't take another beat down, Jim. Go to the NFL.
He might
So,
listen
The
to
Houston
you.
Texans need you.
Speaking of the Ohio State Buckeyes, shambles at the
Man.
buzzer, my guy. Shambles at the buzzer. Me and Vitor literally screamed watching that.
We were
Uh,
like, it had to get
Dude, it had to have gotten tipped. No, oh boy just shanked the bitch.
Yeah, he
He was
I was
pissing
really
his pants
sad
in the
into the
midst of
new
his
year.
run up.
Well, we were playing some card game, right? Where it was
Yeah.
like drink. It was like one of those drink if you whatever type of
Yeah.
games. And we're standing behind the couch, like,
Oh my God.
watching the game.
He did not.
No, man, I'm sitting there making a drink. My brother go, you know, pressure bursts pipes, right? Because he got money on Georgia. All of us. Then all of a sudden, I look at the screen. ESPN put Henry Ruggles 2 for 2, 49 yards made. I'm like, thanks, guys. You just jinxed it.
Yeah. Mhm.
He was
And
automatic.
then
He
I
didn't miss
seen-
the extra point or his kicks. I said that to Vitor too,
Yeah.
right before he kicked it.
Because we were talking about it, like, oh, it's gonna be a kind of a long
Because the
field goal.
Georgia kicker had missed two, I think, that game.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
but
a
the
50
thing
and a
was just
40.
like the ball placement of the kick was doo-doo. Henry Ruggles just kicking that ball was doo-doo. The ball, everybody keeps saying wide left. That ball didn't even make the end zone. Doo-doo. I can't
Hey,
hate.
trust
I
me.
hate it all.
Isaac, listen. Will Reichard cost us a Final Four spot. If he makes the field goal against
Yeah.
Tennessee, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we lose to LSU. A one-loss Bama is still in. We're still in the SEC championship. We're still making the Final Four. It's okay,
Yeah.
man. I know how it feels.
It's
Oh.
tough, man.
On the flip side, Georgia escapes and is
No disrespect.
having a
man.
chance to repeat.
Mhm.
I think Ohio State played probably the best game they could have played
Shroud.
all year.
Shroud was a dog.
I just want to say, anybody getting Marvin Harrison, you welcome.
Yeah, that ruined it. I told you he got injured.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was definitely a momentum changer, but it happens.
Yeah.
So I want to say I think this was a good test for them to go against TCU in the final. I don't think it's going to be as close of a game as it was against Ohio State. Again, I might be underestimating TCU again, but I think you're going to see similar to what happened last year with Georgia. Once Alabama beat them in the SEC championship game,
Yeah.
kind of flipped the switch for Georgia. I think this was an eye opener that they're not as and I think that a similar thing happened in the middle of the season against Mizzou. They almost lost on the last play, and then they ran the table, dominating teams. I think this was definitely something to switch, kind of the flip switched, and they're gonna. I think they roll them.
Yeah, and then we've been talking about Harbaugh and coaching in college. Kirby Smart's no slouch. I think
Guess
he's gonna-
what wing he came from?
he's gonna have seen
Roll
everything
Tide.
they did wrong in that game against OSU.
You saw the
And-
halftime adjustment was
Oh, yeah.
there.
So, and now you're gonna give him time, give him a week to grill these guys for every little mistake they made. I don't know. I think they're coming. They're gonna be coming with.
I mean,
some
mobile
heat.
quarterbacks
Yeah.
is usually a stout defense's problem. Like that's
Yes.
usually
Yeah.
their biggest problem.
As a 49ers
That's why
fan,
Bryce
yes.
Young gave them a hard game the last 2 years. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be tough, man.
What you think?
Boys are hungry.
I know Georgia gonna win, but I just can't count out the Horned Frogs like that.
I'm
I
telling you,
just
I've been doubting
can't.
them all year.
Hey, look, that's my thing. They've been doubted all year. Max Duggan is hungry. They got explosive receivers. One of their receivers is like a number one draft pick. I just can't remember his name. Like, well, projected number one first round draft pick. Not
Mhm.
number one, but first round.
Yeah.
But I just think having that combination of a guy that's experienced, been in some big games before, they can do some damage, in my opinion. I just think with the way that Georgia's defense just played, and I felt like they had a little bit more time to prepare for an Ohio State.
Yeah.
But it was a long layout too, which also plays into it. But I just think with the way TCU was playing, these close games, that fight they gonna have, I just think it's gonna be really close. But I just still think Georgia walks away with it.
That's what I'm saying. They got. Go ahead. See, you found it.
I was just saying he's thinking of Quentin Johnson, 6'4" with running a
Yes.
4.4. He's the
Yes,
third wide receiver on the rankings,
Okay.
so probably a late first round pick.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. TCU just showed up and they played with some swag. I think that was like important for them and showed that, you know what, like we're here, we're gonna make the most of it. I just think the key for them is if they start out exactly like they did against Michigan, then that gives them the best chance to win. But I think if it's to where it's, to try and catch up or anything like that, I think that's where their run ends, unfortunately, and Georgia's gonna take it home. I really just want to go with the upset just cause.
I
So
did it last week and it paid
I'm gonna
off.
say TCU gets the upset over Georgia.
I swear to fucking God, if that comes true, if a non-SEC team wins, I'm abandoning everything I know about college football.
So does that mean the Big 12 is like official now?
The Big 12 is never official.
Hey,
The
it'll,
fact
it'll,
that that was
but
their first playoff win should tell you. I guess Oregon during the first year beat
Yeah.
Florida State, but since then,
yeah. I
It's
mean,
not gonna
but
happen.
it'll be a feel good story though. So, but before we finish it out, I'm gonna go TCU. What you got? I?
I said Georgia, brother.
Georgia.
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 Let's go Horned
Hey,
Frogs, baby. Texas Christian University.
I'll throw
Let's
it. I'll
go.
throw it up before they roll out.
So, next thing we're gonna get into real quick. So, obviously, gonna be the two losers out of the semifinal games, unfortunately.
The two
Why you
losers.
gotta say it like that? Wait,
I'm just
time out. Why
saying
you gotta say it like that? Start this question on.
they're the two losers.
All right,
Okay.
no, start this question on.
I'll
I'm gonna say
actually
two
I'll
Big Ten
actually
schools
Hold on.
that
So
I'll actually say it the way,
between the two teams that took losses in the college
you
football
go.
playoff, even though they were close games,
Yeah.
which of them is better suited for success in the future? Ironically, they're both rivals. Ironically, they're gonna see each other every year
Mhm.
until college football blows up or something. I don't know. Is Ohio State or is Michigan better suited for success in the future? What you got?
Ohio State.
Speak to me, Buckeye.
Yeah, I think it's gotta be Ohio State, man.
Speak to me. What you got?
Unless something happens, I don't know, man. But go ahead,
Well, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I'm looking at shout out to Jim Harbaugh. Seriously, they're doing a great job in Michigan, but still, for the last 7 years, it's going on 7. He still ain't brought in. Ohio State's had the top ranked recruiting class coming into the Big Ten, constantly replacing talent in and out each year. Just like I don't want to say it's like an Alabama because it's mostly 4 stars for us and like a couple 5 stars.
First in the nation this year.
But also when you look at it, I'm loving like a Ryan Day. Ryan Day has breeded some really good quarterbacks at the college level. Granted, the success that any Ohio State quarterback has had at the NFL level, but
yeah, that's changing.
Ohio State, and it's changing, which I still just think right now, man, Jim Harbaugh is doing a great job, but it doesn't matter whoever touches that Ohio State job, if it ain't Ryan Day in a couple years or not, because everybody want him out for these losses to the Michigan games. But even then, I just think like Jim Harbaugh was getting his ass kicked by Urban Meyer for how long? I just think Ryan Day, this is his first time being in that environment, being that head guy. He has to understand what it takes to get that job done with those. And I think it does. And then it balances out. And Ohio State just still takes over at this point.
Okay. I think next year's a big year. And if they make it a trifecta, I think he's gonna lose. He's gonna be close to on his way out. Because that's in my opinion. I think if you look at who's set up better for success, it's Ohio State because of the recruiting. But I think they don't win the coaching side of it. I think Harbaugh's a better coach because he's beating them the last 2 years with way less talent.
Okay.
Way less talent.
So
I think this year, I feel like even with this year, I feel like Jim Harbaugh even punked Ryan Day a little bit.
it was a big loss because they lost a lot of big players going into this season. And I personally didn't expect them to be undefeated and to be it in the manner. They almost lost a couple games throughout the year, but I definitely had, I mean, jokes all aside, I had them losing to Ohio State at the end of the year, hands down.
Yeah.
And for them to dominate that game for a second year in a row in Ohio State
Columbus.
this year. Yeah. That was, I think again, Ohio State is still set up for more success because they recruit and, like Isaac said, replace that talent so quickly, which is being a top 3 team. That's just what you do. But I don't know, man. I think like I said for my Harbaugh back to the NFL take, I think tides are turning for them. I think they're going to start picking up more recruits as they continue to see the college football playoff and get more primetime games and get more money into things. So I think it's close. It's closer, but I'm sticking with Ohio State because they do get hands down better players.
Yeah. Okay. V, what you got for me?
I mean, I think Christian said pretty much all of it. But again, going back to our discussion about Jim Harbaugh, if he does leave, then I think that's the only advantage because I do agree with you that I think they'd have the advantage in coaching.
It would turn the needle 100%.
Yeah.
Ohio State has.
I think it's like 60-40 right now.
I think Ohio State continues, like I said, last 5-10 years they've been up there every year
since the playoff has kind of been in. They've usually are
They're
top
in and
five.
around, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
obviously history's on their side, the recruiting's on their side. Typically they have the best D end in the country every year. I don't know why things are different right now, but
Yeah.
they went through both of the Bosas, Chase Young.
I mean, the guy they got now is a solid player, but
But
They
it's
got a
I
lot
don't
of
know. They
needs
always
coach.
seem to have
Right.
they always seem to have studs. They always seem to have one stud DN, one stud corner, right? And then the offense, wide receivers specifically are always great. So I don't know. Unless like I think Jim Harbaugh can, if he decides to stay and continues building and more people buy in and you start seeing more 4s and 5 stars going to Michigan, I think they'll start they're really running.
they're gonna flip the script, man.
Yeah, running the money out. But if he
Yeah.
leaves, then I think Ohio State has not. There's nothing that Michigan has better than Ohio State at that point. So,
But also too, I also think about with the USC's and UCLA's. Hopefully, if he, because I ain't gonna lie, that Tulane loss is a little bad. But a Lincoln Riley, in my opinion, can recruit.
yeah,
Transfer portal and outside the portal. So with that coming over, UCLA come over, both of these teams gonna have some real running for their money. I feel like just recruiting class wise.
I have a problem with Lincoln Riley too. He can recruit, but I don't think he's a great coach. When it comes to like actually winning games.
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
constantly blew how many late games at Oklahoma? He's already done the same thing at USC.
I mean, you can't
Utah
blame him for the guy
twice, to Tulane this year.
But
I mean, it's his first year. He's got a lot of new guys, and they have a phenomenal class coming up, both next year and the year after. So it's going to be different. But I have a problem with him too.
You can't fault him for a guy fumbling on a punt return. You
No,
can
but
fault
I'm
him
just
for
saying.
the 2 runs right after, right? The play calling, but
you can fault. What about the Utah games? I don't care about the bowl game. They were already. He took them out of contention by losing the 2 games to Utah.
Yeah.
Utes.
It's what happens, man. But we all at least are going. I'm going to Ohio State as well. For at least me, because I just think it's just the consistency that they've brought. Really, when have they had a down year? For every single change, they've always been at the top, or even maybe a mediocre year, and then they're right back into the mix compared to like a Michigan. Michigan was average for a while. Jim Harbaugh, again, first 3, 4, 5 years didn't have it. And now you're seeing like you said, the reaping of his benefits there. So that's at least finishes it out for us for our football segment of episode number 30. Well, what's up?
We all agreed on Ohio State. Next step is to get you all to agree with me about Phoenix.
We all agreed about something for once.
Yeah.
We believe in Ohio State because they proved it. We don't believe in fairy tales over here.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, like save it for the
all
next
right. Okay, Purdy fan.
But that finishes it off for us though for our football segment for episode number 30. If you guys haven't seen, we uploaded our new logo. It's going to be featured on all of our social platforms as well. So again, shout out to our boy Drake. Thank you again for getting that. And then our videos are going to also have a new twist as well. So you guys will be able to see that on YouTube once we post this video up for episode 30. You guys will also see it on our social postings as well for our TikToks and our Reels. So we'll provide a little bit of a different flavor going into the new year. But that finishes it off for us. Stay tuned for episode 31. So we will see you guys soon. Have a great rest of the week, y'all.
Later.